Hello everybody, welcome back. Today I will be showing you guys how to make Taiwanese pineapple cakes. If you're interested, then keep on watching. So we're first gonna start with the pineapple jam. So for the jam we will need a binder. So you will need to bake the glutinous flour. You can either stir fry on a non-stick pan, or you can bake this in a preheated 350 degrees Fahrenheit oven for 10 to 15 minutes and stirring it occasionally to make sure it doesn't burn. So right here you can see I have already prepared my pineapple. I basically just cut off the skin, took the core off, and coarsely chop up the pineapple. You can totally use canned pineapple here, just adjust the sugar level and it will take longer to cook because of the water content in the canned pineapple because it has been soaked in the syrup for so long. So basically I'm just using a medium-high heat here, cooking the sugar and the pineapple together until it turns sticky. Just to remember to stir it occasionally. So remember to stir your pineapples and stir the glutinous flour that's also in the oven. I adjusted the heat level based on the water content that was left in the pan. So once your pineapple turns sticky like so, you can add in the butter. So our main goal is just to make a very thick pineapple jam. So once the butter has been melted and incorporated into the pineapples, we can cook it for another 1 to 2 minutes and sprinkle in a little bit of the glutinous flour. The amount of glutinous flour depends on the pineapple itself. Our goal here is to have a pile of pineapple jam that sticks together, and once you stir it, if you try to break it apart, it will just stick back together. So I added 1 1/2 tablespoon of glutinous flour here. So I added them in small portions at each time just to make sure that the flour gets incorporated evenly, and if you do see white clumps, just use your spatula and break it apart. So you're aiming for something like this. I want my jam to be a little bit juicy, so I kept it to be a little bit sticky but not very clumpy. Alrighty, when it's done, turn off the heat and put it aside. We'll need it later. So let's move on to making the flaky pastry now. So in the bowl here, I have room temperature butter and powdered sugar. And then I will also need eggs, milk powder, and all-purpose flour here. While we're at it, I'm just going to mix the milk powder and the dry flour together. If you don't have milk powder, I highly suggest getting it because it will add so much more flavor. And this is optional, some vanilla extract. So first I'm just going to cream the butter and the powdered sugar together until it becomes smooth. After that, we are going to add in the optional vanilla extract. And then we are going to mix that in. Okay, so to prevent the butter from curdling, I'm just gonna add small amounts of eggs at each time and whisk it really hard until it's finally incorporated. Now I'm just gonna add in my last portion of the egg, just the egg yolk, and then I'm also going to sift the flour into 2 equal portions. So first I'm just gonna sift half of it, mix that in, and then sift the last half of it. And make sure you switch it to a spatula because it will be easier to work with and you won't have an accident like this like me. One big tip I have for all of you if you want a flaky crust is to not overmix. So that's why I'm switching from a whisk to a spatula. So I'm just going to use a folding motion to incorporate the flour into the butter. So once I don't see any more flour clumps, I'm just gonna stop and just step away. So here I'm just gonna add in my last portion of the flour using the same folding technique to fold my flour into the butter. So after the crust has been done, my technique is to let the dough rest for a little bit. so it becomes more flaky and more fluffy. So I'm just going to use a saran wrap and let it rest in the refrigerator for about 15 to 20 minutes. And remember, you can always make this and the jam ahead of time. Alright, when we have everything, we can get going and assemble the pineapple cakes. So for people who like to be really exact like me, I'm using 30 grams of pastry and 25 grams of pineapple jam. I like to weigh each one out, but if you don't have a scale, you can totally just break everything apart into about equal sizes, and this recipe yields about 8 pineapple cakes. And just remember to keep an eye out on the baking time. And remember, the recipe I provided down below for the pineapple jam will give you more than what you need for 8 pineapple cakes. So you will have some leftover. So I'm just doing the same thing here, weighing out the dough, make sure everything is equal. So I'm just going to show you quickly how to assemble the cake. I like to keep the sides very thin while keeping the middle to be a little bit thicker. So when I mount the cake together, it will have an even crust. So you're just using your hands to make like a well in the center. After you create that well, you're gonna put the jam in the center and carefully fold everything together to cover the jam. Make sure no jam is exposing. And you might be curious why I'm using disposable gloves. Just because everything is very delicate and very oily, and I do not want anything to stick on my hand. Using these plastic gloves are just a lot easier to work with. But if you don't have any on hand, you can use a little bit of oil before handling the jam or the pastry. So here I am just going to continue making the rest of the pineapple cakes, and make sure to preheat your oven at this time. And you just want to press firmly down into each mold to make sure each of the pineapple cakes are square shaped, so when they come out from the oven, they will be nice and pretty. All of these molds you're seeing here are made by me. If you're interested in seeing how to make them, you can always leave a comment down below, and if the demand is high, I will totally make a video and show you guys how to make the molds. So the bake time here is in a 350 degrees Fahrenheit oven for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, you're gonna flip the cakes over and bake for another 10 minutes until both sides are golden brown. So after they're done baking, let them cool for about 1 to 2 minutes and immediately remove them from each of the molds, and then you can enjoy them. They are very tasty and very flaky, and I hope you guys enjoy them as much as I did. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had lots of fun making it, and I'll see you guys very soon. And if you want more daily updates from me, feel free to subscribe and follow me on Instagram. Thank you!